Okay guys, so we'll start with task 2.1 now. Uh, task 2.1 says define a structure for a text file that could be used to store information about each student as a string. Each line of the file will contain a single string. This needs to be a single string. Store at least two pieces of information. For example, you could store each student's ID together with their email address as follows. So same as before, you will use two different strings and concatenate with a hashtag in between. That's required. So it could be any two pieces of information. For our example, we'll use ID and email as defined here. Define a fixed format for the student ID. For example, two letters followed by a four number, so it needs to be a fixed format. So we'll decide upon which fixed formats we need to use. Whatever the fixed format is, we'll check accordingly. An example using example string with this format could be, this is a format string. So what is the program required to do? It is required to line number 1, open a text file, new text file. It needs to be a new text file. It should not exist beforehand. Prompt and input a student ID and email address and validate if required. Form the string as shown, so you have to concatenate these two strings with a hashtag in between. Write the string into to the file. Repeat step 2 for all students in class. Close the file. So that's the basic task that we have to do, and you can check using the text editor. Alright, so let's start off with a new file. Let me create a new file. It is a Python file 2.1. Okay, so to start off with, this is task 2.1. So to start off, first I need to create this file. I'm naming this file prm.txt, and I'm opening this file to write. And so you write W, R for read, and A for append. So W is written here because we have to create this file from scratch. It does not exist for now, and we'll create this file and then use this. Okay, after that we need to figure out how many students are there in class. If you do not know why I'm doing this or why is this required, you have to go through my task 1 videos so you can understand how things go, why I'm doing this. And I will be using other functions here and do the same thing as I did in task 1, because task 1 and task 2 are very similar, but just there's a difference that in task 1 you have to do using arrays, and here you have to use files. So first you go and check that out and then come to this video. Then I have to use this loop for all the students in class. So I know how many students there are in class using this variable total students. And then what I'm going to do is I'm creating this ID which I'm going to take from the user, and then I'm checking the length of this ID. So if the length of this ID is not equal to 6, so my format for this ID is that the ID needs to be of 6 characters exactly. It can't be greater, it can be less. So what I've done here is I've created this string ID with no character. So currently the length is 0, and when this checks that if the ID's length is not 6, it will run the loop. So what I'm going to do inside the loop is I'm going to take input from the user to enter student ID of length 6. So the length needs to be 6. If it's not 6, again after taking the input, it will go up to this while loop, check the condition. If the condition is not met, then it will end the while loop. If it's met, that means that this is not equal to 6 length, then it will take the input again. After I'm done taking the ID as input, what I'm going to do is I'm going to input the email, enter student email, and at the end I'm going to create a record with id plus hash plus email. So plus here is for concatenation as we did in task 1. And at the end what I'm going to do is I'm going to write this record into the file. So one more thing that I'm adding in this string is a new line, because the question said that you have to save each record in a single line. So the cursor will not move to the next line unless I insert a new line within this file. So a new line is represented through \n. So \n is concatenated into the record. The record is written into the file, and then automatically the cursor will move to the next line after it writes id, hash, and email. Then it moves to the next line. After you're done writing into the file for all the students that you have, at the end you have to close this file. So how do you close this file? So file handle, the variable that you use to open the file, will be used to close the file. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create, or I'm going to comment out all the variables that I've used. The first variable that I've used is file handle. The file handle is basically known as a write stream for file. So if you are going to read through file handle, or you open it for reading, so you write read stream. For append stream. So this will depend on what you write over here, if it's W, R, or A. Then again, we have hash total students, and there is one more integer value that is I, and after this we have id, comma email, comma record. They all are string. So that's all of the variables that we have in this code. So that's it. This ends our code for task 2.1.